A day in life without electricity turns out to be quite a rough day. Pakistan has been suffering from energy crisis like forever. What is happening? Energy is fundamental to life and intrinsic to all of us, whether you are doing homework at night or moderating your thermal radiance, either charging your electronic devices or tackling these sweet little tiny buzzers. It all comes down to one very important thing called electricity that makes everything going. Yet most of us take it for granted. It's one of the great inventions of mankind that distinguished our civilizations from the past. But unfortunately, not all people around the globe can still enjoy this amazing piece of technology, even 135 years after the first electric bulb illumination. Today we are going to dive into the Pakistan's energy shortfall and its terrifying prospects. Lately, the United States Agency for International Development has inaugurated a new research center here at Nust to shape the energy future of Pakistan. At least that's what the mission director John Gookie said during the opening ceremony. This initiative is part of the scintillating $127 million investment with the hope to find enduring solutions for Pakistan's energy challenges. USAID has great interest in promoting regional stability and prosperity by focusing the country's energy, economic growth, agriculture, healthcare and education. The vestigial structure, so-called green building, is very elegant to look. It's 4 stories high, 5,600 square meters wide. Enjoy well-furnished classrooms, state-of-the-art laboratories, a very rich library and a huge conference hall. Oh, one thing more, the elevator, but only for disabled people. Sorry guys. It is expected that this new research center will become one of the Pakistan's salutary think tank for sustainable energy. Students and faculty from all around the country will have a chance to share their knowledge while working in the energy laboratories endowed with most advanced instrumentation. But the bigger question is how this will power the Pakistan's energy future. Well, this center will train and motivate young graduates, especially women in engineering. The faculty and students exchange program is one such exertion. It's an engineering partnership between universities in the United States and Pakistan for exchanging their ideas, culture, and most importantly, technology. Under this exchange program, 200 of combined faculty and students will visit the partners in universities in the United States. Half of them have already, to enlighten from most eminent scholars and to explore the world outside of their imaginations. This program is a very clear mission: to establish world-class education in Pakistan and to conciliate its energy crisis by developing effective future leaders, which, by the way, sounds fascinating. It's also one of the great sources for peacemaking across borders and continents. But the downside, however, if you're homesick, you might probably occasionally end up with vaporing. Another major drawback is that you can't find a job, even part-time, seriously, because most of the exchange visas don't allow students to work. So how these visiting scholars of the future leaders, if you may call, can be significant to emancipate Pakistan from energy tribulations, that's another big question, and perhaps I'm unable to answer in this very first episode. Now, to keep this pudding on boil, USAID is playing a very important role by providing all the cloying milk, and not only investing in the academic research but also in tangible energy projects with a great deal of interest in the socio-economic development of Pakistan. For example, the hydro project of Koramtangi Dam of 83 megawatts and the federal administered tribal area and Gomal Jam Dam of 17.5 megawatts with initial investment of more than $100 million would not only provide electricity but also irrigations to 232,000 acres of land, as well as fish cultivations and flood protection. Altogether, USAID has added 3,000 megawatts of electricity so far to the national grid, and more is expected in future. Oh, wait a moment, until for the Trump regime, because he's already cutting budget from international development. He has already cut 47% from Fulbright, which is something we all should be worried about. There's no doubt the country's noxious scape between energy demand and supply of 8,000 megawatts has jeopardized every single life. Unfortunately, war may be disastrous on the ground for people like you and me, but it damn makes a lot of money for the industry. Not to say the aggravation of the education, healthcare, agriculture, and loss of thousands of jobs. Such a fall is the reflection of torpid and corrupted leadership. Sorry to say that. The installed capacity is 23,000 megawatts of electricity, but the production is limited only to 12,000, while the demand is almost guessing to 20,000 megawatts. Now, to take you and me for a foolish claim has always been made, but as a matter of fact, words and actions can't really be synchronized. The current load shedding durations from 15 to 18 hours and the rural area has baffled every child, man and woman to the very last degree. It's nice to see the rise of Metrobus in the capital territory, but what about those deserted lives whose basic survival hang in the balance? After all, energy is fundamental for their sustainability. As long as our energy production relies relies on imported fuels such as coal, oil and gas, which is almost half by now. We can never get out of the incarceration. These power plants are not only expensive but also running very inefficiently, along with inadequate transportation system, poor infrastructure, mismanagement, health shortage and bribery are rampant all over the country. It is such a quagmire. Pakistan is wasting away its cheapest source of hydropower potential because of poor policies and personal interest. In order to keep the dwellings of 200 million brighter for 24 hours, there is an exigent need to unleash this capacity of 60,000 megawatts of hydro energy. Yes, they are expensive and take quite a while to build, but equally provide cheap energy. To mitigate the energy crisis, Pakistan needs at least 3 to 4 mega hydropower plants. These long-term projects seems to be impossible in the current fragmented political situations where each party is exasperating others for the disasters and credit themselves for the triumph. The far northern hilly area of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, such as Gilgit-Baltistan and Far, are the most favorable locations for micro hydropower plants because A, they are inaccessible to the national grid, and B, they are the victim of poverty, so it will guarantee regional prosperity. Pakistan Council of Renewable Energy has been working on micro hydropower plants since 1976. This council is hardly producing 8 megawatts of electricity, which is far below compared to the existing potential. Now these resources can effectively be exploited either by training the local power producers or by further investments in the PECO power plants installations. A great deal of energy can be harnessed, ensuring peace and stability in the countryside. And one of my favorite of all is the solar energy. According to a research study conducted in the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, that Pakistan has a potential of 92% of its electricity requirement from solar alone. The Qaidi Azam power plant in Bahawalpur, Punjab is promised to provide 1,000 megawatts of electricity by 2016, but unfortunately today it's hardly producing 10% of the intended capacity, and that's where lies the problem. The set target of energy production from solar is only 5% by 2030, which is totally unacceptable. According to the Pakistan Meteorological Department, a wind corridor in the far south of Sindh has a gross power potential of 43,000 megawatts, and an estimated 11,000 of electric power can easily be yoked under the consideration of all constraints. One of the world's largest single coal deposit lies in Thar, which is 175 billion tons, and according to some experts, it can last as much as 200 years. Although mining can be a bit challenging, but with the rapid advancement in technology means digging can be far more safer and easier today than ever before. A master plan is needed to meet the current energy demand. It is sadly true that the share data by the concerned authority of power productions is most of the time unreliable and inconsistent to trust. It is therefore very important for the Center of Advanced Studies in Energy to make strong alliance with both public and private power producers, as well as with the governmental bodies, in making adequate energy policies to mitigate the rising tension in public. To conclude with, we should never lose hopes, and that's how we live in this world, but actions must be taken. The entire energy sector needed to be transparent and should be overhauled in certain cases. The northern Pakistan should be dominated by hydropower plants, while the southern Pakistan must look out for wind and solar energy. The tagged coal deposit must be unleashed rather than importing fuels, because we need affordable and reliable electricity 24 hours a day and 7 days a week in every part of this country before we could even venture to claim ourselves as a developing nation. Pakistan should have a separate Department of Energy to design short, medium and long-term energy policies to guarantee sustainable power supply. Because the decisions we are taking today is going to define the tomorrow's fate of this country. Thanks for watching.